In the annals of American crime, some names evoke pure heroism, like Eliot Ness, the legendary Untouchable who took down Al Capone. But every hero has a shadow. For Ness, that shadow didn't live in the high-stakes world of Chicago's mobsters. It lived in a hellscape called Kingsbury Run in Cleveland, Ohio. It was 1935. The Great Depression had turned America's industrial heartland into a graveyard of broken dreams. In Cleveland, thousands of homeless hobos lived in shantytowns along the railroad tracks. They were the forgotten. And it was among these forgotten souls that a monster began to feed. He wasn't a common thug. He was surgical. He was precise. And he was about to engage in a 3-year cat-and-mouse game that would leave 12 bodies in his wake and destroy the reputation of the most famous lawman in America. The horror officially began on September 23, 1935. 2 teenagers were wandering through Kingsbury Run, a desolate gully on the city's southeast side. In a patch of overgrown weeds, they found something that didn't look human at first. It was a torso. When the police arrived, they found 2 victims. Both were decapitated. Their genitals had been mutilated. But most disturbing was the skin. It wasn't pale, it was red and leathery. The killer had treated the remains with a chemical, likely lime, to toughen the flesh. One victim was identified as Edward Andersey, a small-time criminal. The other? He remained a John Doe, the first of many. Cleveland's safety director, Eliot Ness, was initially dismissive. He was a man of modern science and organized crime. He believed this was a one-off act of madness. He was wrong. 4 months later, in the dead of winter, a basket was found near a manufacturing plant. Inside, the remains of a woman wrapped in a newspaper. Her head was never found. The city began to panic. The newspapers dubbed him the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. The MO was always the same. The victims were often decapitated while still alive. The cuts were clean, performed by someone who understood anatomy, a doctor, a nurse, or a skilled butcher. By the summer of 1936, the tattooed man was found. He had 6 distinct tattoos, including names and a dancer. Ness, desperate for a lead, had a plaster death mask made of the victim's face and displayed it at the Great Lakes Exposition. Thousands viewed it. No one recognized him. The butcher wasn't just killing people, he was killing ghosts. People who wouldn't be missed. As the body count rose to 6, 8, then 10, the pressure on Eliot Ness became unbearable. The butcher grew bolder. He began leaving bodies in plain sight. In August 1938, the most brazen act occurred. 2 sets of remains were found in a dump site, directly across the water from Ness's office window. It was a middle finger to the law. Ness's personal life was falling apart. His marriage was failing, he was drinking heavily, and the press was mocking him. He was a man built for rules and evidence, but the butcher left neither. There were no fingerprints, no witnesses, just the clean, cold reality of a surgical blade. In a fit of desperation and rage, Ness ordered a massive police raid on the shantytowns. He had the shack searched, and then, in a move that many called a human rights atrocity, he ordered the entire area burned to the ground. He wanted to smoke out the killer. Instead, he just left thousands of homeless people with even less than they had before. Ness did eventually find a man he was certain was the killer, Dr. Francis Sweeney. Sweeney was a World War I veteran who had performed amputations on the front lines. He was an alcoholic with a violent streak and a failing medical practice. During a secret interrogation in a hotel room, Sweeney failed 2 early versions of polygraph tests. Ness reportedly leaned in and said, "I know it's you." Sweeney just smirked and replied, "Prove it." But there was a catch. Dr. Sweeney was the first cousin of Congressman Martin Sweeney, one of Ness's biggest political enemies. If Ness arrested him without an airtight case, it would look like a political hit. Sweeney eventually checked himself into a psychiatric hospital, and the murders, they stopped. For years after, Ness received postcards signed, "The Butcher," mocking him from various locations across the country. Sweeney's handwriting was a match, but the evidence remained circumstantial. Eliot Ness left Cleveland in 1942, his reputation in tatters. He died years later, broke and largely forgotten before his autobiography, The Untouchables, made him a legend again. The Butcher of Kingsbury Run remains one of the greatest cold cases in history. Official records say there were 12 victims, but some believe the count is closer to 20. The butcher didn't just take lives. He took the dignity of a city and the confidence of its greatest hero. In the end, the run was cleared, the shanties were gone, but the ghosts remain.